You can see how massive it has gotten in 1 year's time. Well, hey you guys, we're out here today, back at the farm. It's mild out here today, except that we have a little bit of rain clouds moving around, little sprinkles. We did a few follow-ups on our 3-year tree and our 4-year tree from last year. And today we're doing a follow-up on our 2-year tree from last year. And we'll link to it so you can go watch it. This one might kind of amaze you guys because if you remember that the tree, the little 2-year tree was really not very big. I'll show you what to do on it. So what we have, and you can see how massive it has gotten in 1 year's time. This tree did a lot of growing, and honestly, an average growth, it probably should have only been maybe half this size, but it's double the size. It almost looks like a 4-year-old tree at this point. One of the things about why maybe this grew so big, we have a line of Alberta tree. This is in Alberta, by the way, early Alberta. And we have a kind of a line of these Alberta trees up here by the irrigation ditch where it hits the road. And we just kind of have them up here to help decorate with at the front of our farm. Down here, kind of at the edge of the field, where all the water, kind of from flood irrigation and the rain waters and the drainage, you know, a lot of times it'll carry all the nutrition down at the bottom end of the field here where the ditch is at. There's probably lots of water, lots of food, and the tree's just taking right off. And if these trees continue to be pruned correctly, they probably will have really nice, large peaches every year. So I just want to go through and show you where some of those cuts were at that we made and show you the remnant of those cuts. And so let's come in here and look at some of them now. If you look in here, if you remember on last year's video, we didn't have a lot of strength coming out this way, and we decided to kind of go for a 3 scaffolding, and maybe one would appear where we could build out north, because if you look at the scaffoldings, we're kind of missing the north segment of it. We want them to fill up the big umbrella shape. So we want them to go those directions so they can do that. Now, ideally, it would be nice if we had one more branch, let's say, come out this way, but we don't. We only have 3. So we have to help some of these other branches develop out this side of the tree, since it'll be lacking a little bit. But we may have the ability to do that now with all this heavy growth. We could probably pick something here to start working its way out north. Maybe this one right here, I'm thinking even. Let's come in here and look at some of the cuts we made. So when we made the cuts, we kept this branch and we kept this branch, and they were, I think at the time they were about that big, you know, they were just tiny. I'm going to take this one that's trying to grow right in the crotch of these two. Here's an interesting one. We have 3 branches all converging there. So what I would try to do, because in the future they will fight with each other and they will try to push each other, kind of like how you have teeth in your mouth, like your wisdom teeth, where they try to push the teeth and they cause trouble. These are the same way. They're going to try to push each other. So if I take this guy out of the middle, I'm giving room for these guys to have a free life. And to help show you how tiny they were, here's some dieback off the one we trimmed last year. And then let's come up here. You can kind of see where we trimmed this one off for the scaffolding that came up this way, and what's left of the dieback, and look how large the limbs are that grew. So we kept this branch coming up here too. You can kind of see where we trimmed it. I think I will keep this guy. I know he's going kind of straight up, but I'm going to try to get him to feather out this way, and I'm going to prune him so he'll do that. I'm going to cut those. I'm going to take these 2 horns and keep them. And I'm going to cut that thing off. And that one too. That one too. So hopefully this guy, and the peach branches, they tend to do that. Even though they're kind of go straight up, as they get heavier and they develop, oftentimes they will start to bow out that way for you. So that's what I'm hoping on that one. If it doesn't happen next year, and let's say he says, no, I'm trying to fill in this way, then we'll prune accordingly at that time. But that's my hope on that one. So that's why I pruned that way. You can just see how powerful the growth was in here on this tree. And so now we have a lot of growth. We have a lot of different decisions we can make when we come here to prune it next. And we can pick a lot of different stuff. So this tree is really exciting to work on because we have a lot to work with, and it's well established, it's powerful, and this thing is going to produce peaches for us this coming year, even though it's only a 3-year tree. It just has a lot of power behind it, and it can afford to put out some peach production for us. Come over here and look at this other tree just right next to it. You know, these trees along this line, I think there's about 10 of them. We planted them. I can't remember. I think this one might be 5 or 6 years old now. I think it's 6 years old. And the one that got planted here got damaged badly, and that tree died. So we planted this new one in here to replace. So I think these are 5 or 6 years old, and this one is now in its 3rd year. And you can just compare how big, how fast it got really big. So this tree, you know, I'm 5'10", I'm almost 6 feet tall. So this tree is already approaching 8 feet, up into the 8-foot mark. Tree that has a lot of fertilizer and a lot to work with. How quickly things can get going if you have that for the tree ready to go. So thanks for coming along on a journey with this tree that we've been working on in its 2nd year now. So our next video we're going to put out is of this tree again. We're going to do the 3-year pruning of this tree, so you can kind of follow along with that 2-year tree. We'll do it on the 3rd year now, and hopefully we can remember to come back the next year and do it on a 4-year, and kind of give you a year-by-year analysis of how we're going through and taking care of our trees.